Until you let go, you aren't free to move. Today on Growing Hope, we begin to understand the control and strength that we gain when we make the choice to let go of the things that are holding us down, holding us back, or holding us in place.
It's time for Growing Hope, the show determined to grow up hearts open to pursue the extraordinary. Because you are extraordinary! And now, live from a little cabin in the woods, nestled along Big Spring Creek, it's your host, Kathryn Lang.
Hello, and welcome to Growing Hope, where we are invested in encouraging, supporting, and daring each other to live out our bold and purposeful lives. I am Kathryn Lang, your resident Rainbows and Lollipops host, and I am grateful that you are here with me, especially as we begin this journey to let it go. Let it go. Just let it go. We've been talking about taking the steps we need to live a balanced life, and letting go is probably one of the most essential things we can do to walking out balanced. The balanced life requires that we admit that there's a problem, and we follow up that with reviewing the options that we have for dealing with the problem and taking our step and building that foundation of balance. Now we're going to tackle the challenge of letting it go. If you want balance in your life, and trust me, you need balance in your life, then you have to be willing to let it go. And by it, I mean all the stuff, the internal stuff and the external stuff, all that stuff that is drowning you or pushing you down. Stuff steals the motivation to do. Stuff hinders the ability to move. Stuff just gets in the way. Our home offers an oasis from the craziness where we're located. It sits nestled along a creek. It's back in the woods. On a good day, you won't even hear the nearby traffic. On the best days, you get to watch the wild turkey or the deer romp through the yard. It's perfect. And it's especially perfect for hosting retreats and workshops and get-togethers. Or it should be. See, a while back, I discovered an online auction. And not that they didn't exist beforehand, it's just that this particular auction is like a thrift store or a yard sale on steroids. It's awesome. And the first one I participated in, I purchased 16 metal kitchen chairs, 8 high-back executive dining chairs, and a 10-foot wooden conference table, all for the combined price of just $130. So the next one, I got a little crazy. My sons wanted mini fridges to take with them for summer camp where they worked. So I was looking for them, and this auction came up, and I didn't want to drive all the way to pick up just 2 little mini fridges, so I bid on other stuff, and I won. So I ended up with 2 desks, 36 chairs, 5 cafeteria-sized tables, whose legs do not fold up, by the way, 2 mini fridges, and a rolling cart. And I was fortunate I didn't win everything that I had bid on, because we didn't have room for what I did get. The good news is that my oldest son is a professional at Tetris from years and years of practicing trash Tetris. So he was able to get it all stacked up, and we got it home. But then we had another problem, because we had all this stuff and no place to really put it and no way to really use it at the time. Maybe one day, but not today. So most of the stuff got stacked up on the back porch. That means that the back porch was unusable. It became storage. I did try to sell some of it, and I did sell one of the tables, but not enough to really make a dent in what I'd gotten. Flash forward, and I offered to a friend the space for her upcoming workshop, because like I said, it's great out here for that kind of stuff. But when she came to look, I had to apologize for all the stuff we had stacked everywhere. And I said, we've got plans. This is all going to be in a home by the time of your event. And I promised her that it would happen. And I meant it. I meant every word of it. I don't know which was worse, not being able to allow her to host the event or missing out on the hours of sitting out on the back porch with my dad, because by putting all this stuff in the place, I didn't have space. There was just too much. And if there's too much, you don't have balance. And if you don't have balance, you cannot walk out your blessed life. Nothing is going to change unless you make the choice to change it. So don't let the excess and the overflow of stuff get in the way of your exceeding abundant. Learn to let it go. Learn to make room so that you can move into where you're supposed to be going. Nothing causes more frustration than blocked blessings. You know, most of the time we know the promises. Most of the time we believe the promises. We're just not seeing the answers. But it's not the fault of the promises when we don't see the answers. The promises are the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow, no matter who you are or where you are. So if the promises aren't the problem, then it has to be the promise seeker. And that means me. So too often it comes down to blocked blessings. It's blocked by me. Intentionally or unintentionally, it's blocked by me. So if the publisher clearinghouse van was coming to your house, would you put up a barrier to prevent the publisher clearinghouse from coming and giving you your check? And yet we find ways to block what it is that God desires for our life, or what we know we're supposed to be doing. We cover up the space. We put stuff in the way. We allow hindrances to pile up. Just how many chairs does a person really need, right? That's what my family kept asking me before they grounded me from the auction site. I wanted to be able to have people over all the time, so I made the choice to invest in these chairs. But what I did in investing in the chairs was blocked the room that I needed for the people to come over. We have to make the choices that will clear the space and make room for the better and the best that we desire for our lives. We have to let go of what is keeping us here if we want to move to there, that place, that place with our big dream goals. The first time I went rappelling, I was a little bit nervous. Well, actually, every time I've been rappelling, I've been a little bit nervous. You have to really take a step of faith when you go rappelling. You're attaching yourself to a small rope. Granted, it's a strong small rope, but it's still just a rope. And then you have to hurl yourself over the side of a cliff. And you put all your trust in the rope and in the people that you're with. It doesn't matter if the cliff is 10 feet high or 100 feet high. You still have to trust the rope's going to get you down. But the first time I went rappelling, I had no idea really what to expect. So I held tight to the rope and I stood on the edge of the rock. Let go, the instructor explained. I needed to let go and lean back into the nothing and just trust. I had to let go to be able to move. Otherwise, I would have remained at the top of the rock while everyone else around me reached the destination. So I let go. And each time after that, it was a little easier to let go. When it comes to the stuff in our lives, even people or activities, when you first step up to the edge of the cliff, it takes your breath away. You run through all the what ifs and what abouts and anything else to keep you locked into place. But once you let go and trust, you're free to move. You're free to become what you were designed to become. As long as you hold tight to it, you'll be stuck in the place where you are and you'll just be holding tight. You have to be willing to let go of all the unnecessary stuff, even if you think you might need it down the road. Unless you have a specific plan in place for its usage and for its storage, then it's time to let it go. You have to be willing to let go of the unusable stuff. A cracked mug is not good for drinking, and it's really not safe. Why would you risk cutting your lip, or worse, injuring someone else? Be willing to let go of the stuff that's no longer good for its designed purpose, or get creative and find a new purpose for the stuff. And you have to be willing to let go of the unwanted. You can't let the giver be the dictator of what you keep and what you release. If a fear is involved in the reason you're keeping something, then you need to examine what it is you're keeping and the reason behind the keeping. You don't want to keep stuff that you don't want. And also you need to be willing to let go of the unneeded stuff. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can buy 36 chairs doesn't mean you should. Just because you can get a dozen sets of free china doesn't mean you should. Be okay with letting go of the stuff that you don't need. And you have to be willing to let go of the unappreciated. Not unappreciated by the people around you or people outside of you, but unappreciated by you. You don't want to have stuff just to have it. Let it go so it can have a home where it will be truly honored and valued. We purchased a pool one spring. It was an above ground pool, but it was something we thought the boys would enjoy and that visitors would be able to enjoy, and we hoped that my father-in-law would also take advantage of it and get in and walk around it for exercise. We had a lot of reasons behind the pool, but it took a lot of work, and it wasn't cheap to maintain. But it was used, at least for the first years, and then the boys got older, and the pool was used less and less. They began spending most of their summers away at camp, which is why I needed the mini fridges, and they also had a lot of other activities they had to do. So the final summer that we had the pool, I was the only one that used it the whole season. I found a family that had been looking for a pool so their son, who had been injured, could do his rehab in the water. We passed the pool on to them. It was time to let it go, and it worked out great for the other family. They showed me pictures. They shared how it was being put to work. The thing that was no longer appreciated in our home became a valuable asset in their home. And it worked out for us too. We were able to use some of the sand and the chert that had been used to level the space for the pool. We used it to level our driveway after a flood. It all worked out. If we had kept the pool just to have the pool, then we wouldn't have been able to make those repairs in a timely manner, and we also wouldn't have made the connection with that family and been a blessing in their lives. We don't always understand the next step. We rarely understand the next step. We do good to understand the step we're in. But we almost always recognize when something is too much in our lives or is hindering our walk. We know when it's a burden or a discomfort. We understand when something is just not a right fit anymore for our home, for our family, or even for our current season. And yet we hold on. We hold on because someone told us we needed to hold on. We hold on because someone else might get offended if we let it go. We hold on because, well, we're afraid of what might be around the corner. Maybe we'll need it. Maybe we can use it then. We hold on because it is what always was, or it's what we always wanted, even if it's not what we want now. We have to let it go. Let it go. Practice it. Say it. Let it go. My mom kept a large box of miscellaneous screws and nails and hinges and any other stuff that might be needed at some point in time somewhere down the road. And I inherited the box. And for the longest time, I kept it because one day you might need some of that stuff. And then it finally dawned on me that I needed to let it go. So I did. I went through, I sorted it out, I got rid of the stuff that we didn't need or use. Well, somehow the bag of bolts that went to her bed frame found its way into the box, and I got rid of the unlabeled bag. So when we moved my sons into their first apartment and started to try to assemble the now boltless frame, we had to go to the store and purchase new bolts. Turns out you can do that. You can buy the stuff that you need. My dad mentioned later on that we might need new bolts for the bed when we put it together. And guess what? We got them. Lowe's had them. That's how it works. We get so caught up in our image of what things are and how things are supposed to be that we miss out on the understanding, the realization, or the reality that there's a way. You can find your way to let it go, and you can find your way to replace what you let go if the need arises down the road. Now, people are going to try to dictate to you what you can and you can't do. People are going to try to tell you how you can and can't do. They're doing it all the time, sometimes right out in the open, but more often, with those little hidden whispers, if you do that. But you have to decide. You have to decide what is right for you, or you give the power to others to determine your journey. It's always your choice. I attended the same church all of my life, or at least for most of my memory of my life. We moved to the area when I was 4, and I can't remember a time I wasn't a member of the church. My immediate family were all members of the church. My extended family were members of the church. I attended other services in other locations, but that was always my home church. I always returned to the church. And then it changed. I changed. My season changed. One day, my husband and I were invited to come work with the youth at a different church. We had to make the choice. We had to let go of being at the church I'd always been at. Now, he loved the church as much as I did, but he didn't have the same deep planted roots that I had. I made my choice to let it go, almost, mostly. But the first few months we were at the new church, it was so funny. People would come up to me in that whispered voice and they'd be like, "Does your mother know you're going here?" Because it was such a shock that we were at a different church. It was that big of a deal to them, and it really was that big of a deal for me. For a while, I tried to balance it all myself. I would attend special services at my original home church, and then I would attend regular services at the other church. I wanted to stay connected. I wanted to be in both places at the same time. I attempted to hold on and to fly at the same time. Now, I mentioned to you before about my sunfish sailboat, how sometimes I would just go off. I would tie the sail and just see how fast I could go. What I forgot to mention is that on those occasions when I did tie off the sail, the boat would inevitably flip every single time. It had to. There was no control over the sails. But if I held on to the lines instead of tying them off, I could still go really fast, and I could keep the boat from flipping. It turns out when you want to fly, you sometimes have to be willing to let it go, or else you end up top end, face first, down in the lake. We can fly. You can fly. But you need to determine how to let it go so that you are free to fly. For the next several times together, we're going to be digging into this whole idea of letting it go, how to let go of the things that are holding us back. The only person that can make the decision is you, but you have to make the choice to let it go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear your stories of letting it go, or just share your concerns about why you think you're holding back or what is holding you back. You can email me at contact@growinghoperadio.com or come on over and visit the Growing Hope Radio Facebook page. We're on the edge of something amazing, not just a balanced life, but a life into our possibilities. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit exciting. It's definitely something we haven't experienced before. A new step is always that way. Now we just have to let it go and take off. Until next time, I am Kathryn Lang, here to tell you that hope makes a difference, because every day holds a promise of more, and every action contains the power of possibility. It is not about what the world says or even what the world shows. The strength of hope and encouragement will and does push through the limits and the walls of the world. My prayer is and always will be that the words I share are helping establish a foundation of hope that will shatter the delusions of the world around us. Until next time, remember, be blessed and be a blessing.
Thank you for joining us for Growing Hope with Kathryn Lang, where we are sharing hope, encouragement, and inspiration to do more. Visit www.kathrynlang.com to invite Kathryn to be part of your event or to share your own stories of possibility living. Until next time, remember that a seed of hope planted and nurtured will grow up into a world of possibilities.